Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth.
This is the mayor of the largest city. You are here on private property. On private property.
All right, this is the last. I'm not pinned. Listen, this is the last warning.
Oh, it's Congresswoman. Let's show some respect. Show some respect.
All per man.
You don't have no respect.
Listen,
what does it mean?
Congressmen are different. Congresswomen are different. Mr. Mayor, anyone that is not a congresswoman or man needs to step out. This is the last warning. You will be placed under arrest.
Just tell me.
Don't
rush in. Don't rush in.
Go.
No, please.
Clear the gate. Back up.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Shame on you people.
They're saying that because he was on this side, that he should.
Where's my congresswoman? Where's my congresswoman?
It's on the coat. It's on the coat. Calm down. I'm not resisting.
The apple sure does fall far from the tree where bootlicks are concerned. Hakeem Jeffries is the nephew of Dr. Leonard Jeffries. Back when Hakeem was jockeying to take Nancy Pelosi's place as minority leader of the Democrats, CNN wanted to make sure that they struck the right tone by calling Dr. Leonard Jeffries infamous. I guess they wanted to see what his nephew would do, and of course he said nothing. That fool's gone overboard with his bootlicking. Bobby Rush was a Black Panther back in the day, but you sure wouldn't know about how he's been talking and acting since he went into politics. He might as well be wearing a Back the Badge t-shirt. The point, of course, is obvious. A lot of black radicals were only out for themselves, and we really see this in their children and relatives. The black community has simply not been honest with itself about the civil rights movement and who was in it and what a lot of their real motivations were. Yes, the movement had true soldiers, plenty of them. But those were the people on the front lines. When it came to the people who were leading these groups, we found that white power propped up more than a few of them and got its hooks into many, many others. These organizations were absolutely infested with agents, snitches, tethers, sellouts, and outright traitors. And that brings me to Newark's mayor, Ras J. Baraka. He's the son of noted writer Amiri Baraka and his wife Amini. Now, I'm not going to speak on what influence his parents might have had on him and whether it was good or bad, but let's look at Ras Baraka himself. Newark is a city that's majority black. It's also a city where black people are the poorest residents. The poverty rate for Newark is nearly triple the national average. Ras J. Baraka has been mayor of Newark since 2014, so for over a decade, he's been in office. I wouldn't necessarily lay all the blame for the city's condition on his shoulders alone. Black Newark residents have always been ignored and marginalized. But my question is, what has he done in the last 10 years about any of that? Last Friday, he decided the best way he could help Newark's black residents would be to go to an ICE facility and protest Trump using a private prison named Delaney Hall as a detention facility for illegal immigrants. Activists describe Delaney Hall as the biggest detention center on the East Coast. Okay, but whether or not that's true, it still is a personal problem for the illegal aliens. It means absolutely nothing to Newark's black residents, who are neither illegals nor aliens. So why is the mayor of Newark joining in with the so-called congressional oversight visit, which was nothing more than a PR stunt? The congressional members who were there were Bonnie Watson Coleman, LaMonica McIver, and Rob Menendez, the son of disgraced former Senator Bob Menendez, who was convicted last year on all counts for accepting bribes, extortion, and acting as a foreign agent. He's been sentenced to serve 11 years in federal prison. And we can't forget the former senator's wife, Nadine Menendez, who just last month was also found guilty on 15 public corruption charges related to her husband's criminal criminality. This is Rob Menendez's parents, and yet I'll bet you didn't hear a single word about that when the white media talks about Congressman Menendez, do you? And certainly not their little trip that they took to Delaney Hall last Friday. The New York Times, supposed to be the paper of record, they never miss a chance to slip in something negative or derogatory when talking about a black person. If they can't smear you directly, then they'll smear someone you know. Basically the old guilt by association. But with Congressman Menendez, they don't mention his parents at all. Gee, can't imagine why. Anyway, even though he's not a member of Congress, Mayor Baraka decided that he couldn't miss out on this photo op, so like any good bootlick, he wanted to make sure he was leading the charge front and center. You saw what happened, so I won't belabor that one. But here's my question. When has this guy ever gotten arrested for demanding that we get reparations? When has he even broached the subject? When has he ever been arrested for demanding an anti-black hate crime law? When has he gotten arrested protesting police brutality against black citizens? He hasn't, and he's not going to. We see this time and time and time again from these black politicians. They'll do 5-minute sit-ins on the floor of the House of Representatives. They'll pull the fire alarm to disrupt a session of Congress. They'll disrupt a presidential address live on air. They're ready to jump out a window for any and everything except black Americans, specifically foundational black Americans. And that's an important point to be made. The problem that I have is not that this guy got himself arrested. That's not the point. The point is, why did he do it? Certainly not doing this for black folks. He's ready, willing, and able to get arrested for people who broke into the country, committed God knows what crimes, and who come from communities who routinely attack black Americans. One thing's for sure, Rob Menendez definitely wouldn't be there if it was black people who were getting rounded up at Delaney Hall. The people going to those facilities have family members who will get elected to office and then weaponize their government positions specifically against black Americans, as we saw with the racist Latinos on the LA City Council. You want to protest something, protest that. But we know Rob Menendez wouldn't say boo about it. And something else that makes this particularly galling, this fool and his pals were putting on a pathetic political performance for people who not only can't vote, they're not even American citizens. Meanwhile, the residents of Newark, and I'm talking about the black ones, are being totally ignored by this guy. But as the New York Times has reported, Mayor Baraka is running for governor. So if he wants the white Democrat leadership to give him those campaign donations, he better show that he's obsessed with ignoring black people. He knows what the price of admission is to higher office. This is what the black misleadership class is all about. And for the DNC shills and plants in my comment section who catch the vapors the moment Michelle Obama so much as sneezes, don't worry about your boy Baraka. He was only held by the Trump administration for about 5 hours before he was inevitably released. I wonder how many of the black constituents in Newark can say that. And no sooner than Baraka was released than he was immediately on television getting in his FaceTime and pretending as if he's the second coming of Dr. King. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was an advocate first and foremost for his people. This guy Baraka is only an advocate for himself. And of course, when you look behind Baraka, you see that he's got his Greek frat credentials front and center. You see who this guy's true constituency is. This is the reason that we don't trust and do not like any of these black Greek frats. For God's sake, whenever we talk about organizations like the Boule and such, haven't you ever noticed that they are full and overflowing with these black Greek frats? These clowns, they think to themselves that they're some sort of honorary members of white society. Anyone going to be the one to tell them the truth? According to Newark's so-called 2022 recovery plan, Newark's poverty rate is 27%. That's nearly 3 times the national average. But this recovery report is hard to read that without laughing. You also see the thinking that explains why Baraka is so ready to jump out a window for people who are not even citizens. It says that Newark's population is 86% black and Hispanic. So even in their own governmental report, they still have to shoehorn in the black-brown alliance talk, something that you would never see in these majority Hispanic cities. You would never see this in Los Angeles, you'd never see this in Miami, you'd never see it in San Antonio. They don't talk about black Americans at all, they don't even mention Afro-Latinos. Now, the Newark report also says that 32% of Newark's population are foreign-born and 48% speak a language other than English. So, Baraka, who's running for governor, is trying to get his support in place now, and he's also showing that he's totally devoted to the Democrat strategy of ignoring black voters and trying to put together a new voter coalition of non-black constituents. And he's doing it right in front of his own voters' faces. They don't do this with any other group. After the abortion referendums that took place, the white media talked about how both political parties needed to start listening to and catering to women. And after every election, they always talk about how both parties need to start catering to Hispanics. But even after the 2020 uprisings, what did they say about black voters after they handed the Democrats a clean sweep of the presidency in both houses of Congress? Nothing. Nobody in the white media said that both parties need to start catering to black voters now and start centering the black vote. Sure, they admitted grudgingly that black voters made the difference and handed Democrats a clean sweep, but had that been any other group, the white media would have been saying this election shows that the black vote decides the elections and can't be ignored unless you want to lose. In 2020, they instead said black voter turnout was high and seemed to have had some impact in swing states, and now we move on to sports. Black Americans and our political interests are the third rail of American politics because our empowerment represents a change to the status quo, a change that everybody else has been benefiting from. This is the reason we have no respect for these old Negroes, these civil rights retreads. Look, these illegal aliens have been taken care of for decades in this country, and this government has bent over backwards across successive administrations, both Democrat and Republican, to extend every possible aid to them to make sure that they can leapfrog over us. Now, I don't have any illusions that the Orange Man or Stephen Miller is doing all of this to try to help black people. Obviously, that's not the case. But the point is, the mass deportations don't hurt us, and in fact are a positive for us. So round them up, I say. Get back to me when Trump and Stephen Miller do things that are against us, which, by the way, you won't be seeing Rob Menendez getting out there on the front lines for. When the Trump administration and the DeSantises of this world and the Greg Abbotts and others do things against black people, we're out there by ourselves. What this is doing is it's exposing who and what these bootlicking clowns really stand for, and they don't stand for us. So let Ras Baraka get himself arrested. Hell, let him go to prison if that's what suits him. But don't let him say that he's doing this as a representative for black people. He is not. He's only out there representing himself. And that being the case, black folks in these cities better start doing a lot of soul searching about the kind of people that they're voting for. And don't just vote for this person because, A, you assume that their being black means that on some level they share some amount of common ground with you in solidarity. That's not the case at all. And also, if the person happens to come from a quote-unquote good family, or there's some notable people in their family tree who have actually stood on business, that doesn't mean that they do. In fact, in many cases, as soon as these people start running for office, they immediately turn their backs on whatever true soldiers were in their families. We've seen this pattern play itself out enough times by now to know better. Forget about being governor, this guy shouldn't even be mayor. And that being the case, black residents out there got to make sure that their voices are heard, that this guy is sitting here on these little stupid side quests trying to find ways to ingratiate himself with everybody else. Well, if that's what he wants to do, fine. And the next time that he runs for office, he better not say a word about his lack of black support. If he wants to know where all of his votes went, tell him go and ask his new constituents, the ones that he was busy getting himself arrested for. I'm sure that even if they were able to vote, they would be only too eager to vote for him. Right? Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Johnny J. Martin, Mark Anderson, Bobby Dantzler, Kenneth Johnson, and Stanley Green. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.